Okay, so now we're going to work on the catch stitch, and I have it marked already. So we've prepared the fabric by turning the edge over, and the hem is pressed up. So we're going to start this the same way we start with all of this particular style of hand stitching, and I'm just going to actually secure this end here. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to pierce through this folded edge a little bit to grab that, and that's just to get this started. Right? So I'm going to go through here, and then I'm just going to grab at the same height. So I'm going to grab the fabric at the same height as the hem, just one yarn, and pierce through where I came out. And that will actually be our beginning. That will just hold the end there together. Okay, and we'll start all of these types of stitches that way. So now for the catch stitch, what is going to be happening is we're going to be alternating catching the actual face fabric and the hem fabric. So we're just going to be alternating those. So one stitch will catch the garment, the next stitch we will catch the hem, and so on, the garment, the hem, the garment, and the hem. And this is going to be like it's going to seem like a cross stitch a little bit, but one of the things that you're going to be doing that you need to understand is that the point of the needle when you're sewing is actually going to be going away from you. So you're constantly going to be sewing away. So if I were doing this the opposite way, I would, the way that you're watching the video is the needle's going to be going this way. So now it's going toward me, but the way I'm going to be sewing is going to be away from me. Okay, so I've got my beginning started, and again, these stitches this stitch will be great for a hem, and I like to use this stitch for hems on finer garments, especially if I have an interlining that I can actually hook the hem to so it doesn't show on the outside. And the nice thing about this is that because it goes back and forth at a distance from each other, the hem actually has some movement. So when you're walking, the hem kind of moves, and so it helps the garment on the outside not to stretch or move with your movements. So the way we're going to start this is I've got my anchor stitch here on the end, and we're going to come up, and let's go ahead and make some marks just to get started. And I'm going to make my marks a 1/2 inch, and I'm marking both the hem and the fabric, and we'll just do this a few times. Now, one of the things that we have to understand is if you're going to do these marks, and depending on your style of garment, I'm going to pick up here on the garment. I'll say G for garment. I'm going to pick up the garment. But on this mark, I'm actually going to pick up the hem. And then this one, I'm going to pick up the garment. And then this one, I'm going to pick up the hem and then the garment. And I'll turn that around so you can see the letters better. And maybe I'll sew this backwards so you can see it. So with that marked, if I'm picking up the garment here, and then the hem here, and then the garment here, my garment stitches will be 1 inch apart because I marked these a 1/2 inch apart. So from here to here is 1 inch, right? So, and then it'll be 1 inch from the next one. So this stitch has fewer stitches going to the outside of your garment. So this is something that is actually preferred, especially on higher end garments. So what's going to happen is, let me see if I can do this in your direction, is so that because you're watching this video and I said your needle is going to be going away from you. So what you're going to need to do is on the garment side, at the same height where the hem comes, is you're going to grab the garment fabric, just one of the yarns in the fabric. So just one of those yarns, right? And pull that thread all the way through. And then when you do that, you're going to bring the thread back toward you And then you're going to grab the hem fabric only, not any of the garment, just one yarn in the fabric. And then you're going to pull that thread through, and then you'll bring the thread back to you. And then you're going to grab the garment, just one yarn. Pulling the thread, and then you're going to bring that thread back to you. And then you're going to grab just the hem. Bringing the thread back to you. Just one yarn of the garment. And I've run out of my markings, but I know what I'm going to be doing. So I'm grabbing the hem. And of course, if you're working with this and you need to put the markings with some chalk, of course, nobody's going to know that. Okay? So I'm going to flip this around. So that's the way you would be sewing it if you were working with yourself, because this needle now is going away from you. I'm going to flip it around. It's going to be a little bit easier for me to finish this up and to keep everything pretty even with my 1/2 inch marks. The hard thing is probably just being able to find that one yarn in the garment, and you want it to make sure that it's even with where the hem comes. Okay. Sometimes hand sewing can be relaxing. It kind of calms you down a little bit. Of course, unless you're in a hurry. Try not to be in a hurry. So I'm just going back and forth. Again, make sure that the yarns that you're picking up in the garment are even with the edge of the hem, and that the yarns that you're picking up in the hem are also even with that edge. And we'll have a look at the face side of the garment once I get to the end of this. And this will also take some practice. I'm just going to do a little one right here, and then I'm going to grab to end. I'm just grabbing at the same height that I grabbed the other yarn here. I'm just making it even. And all I'm going to do here to finish this off is I'm just going to pierce through where that was, where my last one was, my last stitch, and then I will just tie the knot on that side. And I'll clip these off. Okay, so that looks pretty even. That looks nice. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do here is let me pull away this hem. And you can see, and I'll turn it in your direction, and you can see what's happening is that there's kind of like a crisscross happening, and that's what you want, right? And all those crisscrosses are just catching a little bit of the hem and a little bit of the garment. So let's have a look at the opposite side. Do you see any stitches? And I was using red thread. So that's the idea. That's what you want. You want it to be invisible. And this hem is on there. It's not going anywhere. Of course, this is muslin, but still, you want to be catching just that one yarn. Okay? This is what we want. And there you have the catch stitch.